Hey everybody, KC here. So last week you may remember we had some conversation about ketchup, and it was all prompted by a story that we had about how Heinz is repackaging their ketchup for certain locations like diners as Heinz breakfast ketchup. The idea is they want to try and make it more acceptable for people to put ketchup on eggs. My experience with people who do that is really they don't need anybody's permission; they just do it. But anyway, so I had mentioned in passing that my favorite ketchup at the moment is not Heinz. It's Rao's Arrabbiata ketchup, which is really spicy, and I really, really like it. And somebody wrote in to say, hey, I like Rao's too. The only reason I found it is it was in the discontinued section of Stop and Shop because they had decided not to carry it anymore. And it was marked down. I'm perfectly willing to pay full price for it. Anyway, one of the things I said was, it really bothers me that, maybe it seems to me likely that they discontinued it because they put it on the shelf, didn't sell as well as they wanted, and then they took it off the shelf. And that's what I think what a lot of retailers do. Anyway, I got this email from a Morning Newsbeat reader named James Kynes Jr. And he wrote, thank you for the heads up on Rao's ketchup. I've been looking for a quality substitute since Sir Kensingtons discontinued their spicy ketchup. I thought that was pretty funny. He said that because we had this conversation on Morning Newsbeat. I like Sir Kensingtons too, and they decided to discontinue it. I lamented that. It's all about homogenization of ketchup, which I really don't like. And then he mentioned, I appreciate you mentioning the Stop and Shop example. He said, it reminds me of when I was able to buy Johnny Harris barbecue sauce at Publix in my area with ease. Now that's dried up and I've had to move to alternatives. Maybe it was due to the flavor profile not being a hit with customers, or maybe Publix could have done a better job highlighting how great that sauce is. Great example. And I want to come back to this basically because I want to underline an approach that I think more retailers ought to take. If you as a retailer think a product is good enough to put on your shelves, then you also want to think it's good enough to explain to customers why it's there. Whether you have 4,000 SKUs or 40,000 SKUs, you're still curating product. You're deciding what goes on the shelves and what doesn't. You are deciding what SKUs are not going to be on your store shelves. And now some of this is, I understand it's based on slotting allowances, but don't get me started on how slotting allowances have screwed up the whole industry, and basically they're anti-consumer. And listen, let's face it, some products are going to get a lot more marketing support from their manufacturers than others, and that's just a matter of resources. But part of your job, it seems to me, as a retailer, is to sell the product, to tell the story of the products you've decided to put in your store. That's part of advocating for the shopper. You have to tell me as a shopper why that product is worth my attention, my time, my money, and then eventually my consumption. You don't do that, well, then you're just basically a warehouse with toll booths, which, hey, listen, a lot of retailers, they're perfectly happy to be that. But that's not my definition of great retail. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.